Jacqueline Cooper, and I'm the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Interaxon. I apologize for my voice today. We know it's a successful CES when you lose your voice on day one. We're really excited to be here. In 2014, we debuted our technology, this headband, which is a 4-channel, 5-sensor EEG. And in those last 4 years, we have made several new developments, which we'll hear about today. We really launched as a hardware, but really what we're going to talk about today is how Muse has become a platform that's really helped people live and perform in their lives a lot better. We've actually realized that we've solved 2 problems with this product that we'll talk about today. We actually, through an auditory experience on an app that you download to your smartphone on iOS or Android, have taught hundreds of thousands of people the skill of focused attention meditation. And we all know that meditation has a profound impact on outcomes in people's lives. But the second problem that we solved today that we'll talk about too is now how we can do brain research on thousands and thousands of people through using a portable technology like Muse. So now, from that, we're looking at how we can empower and improve people's lives and their brain health and their cognitive areas. But not only that, as we're going to talk about how in our products, not only do we look at the mental, but we're also moving into our sensor technology into the physical. So from that, we also are now the world's best-selling EEG device. We sell more EEG systems than all combined. So that's pretty incredible that we now have a consumer product that people are now aware of their capabilities. So we have a number of new products that we're going to talk about today. This is not a panel discussion, although it looks like it. We have 3 guest speakers today. Our first one here is Chris Emeny. He is actually the co-founder and CTO, Chief Technology Officer at Interaxon. And he's going to talk about our history and show you how we were one of the earliest companies in the world working on brain interfaces and mixed reality. It's pretty incredible. We also have our distinguished guest, Dr. Olav Krugelson from the University of Victoria. And he's going to show you how scientists around the world have been using Muse to measure human performance in sports, cognitive science, decision-making, and neuroscience. And we also have Dr. Graham Moffat. Graham is our chief scientist, and he will also highlight Muse's extended reach among scientists and talk more about future directions and really look at augmented reality, mixed reality, VR, sleep, and more. So we really thank you for coming today and enjoy the session.
Cool, thanks, Jackie. So I'm not usually the guy who's standing up here talking. I'm usually the one who's holding a soldering iron or coding late at night and staying up and sleeping in the office. That happened just before CES, and it's because we're working on some really cool stuff for VR that I'm pretty excited to share with you guys. But just moving into the talk here, so some of you may have heard of Muse for the first time today, and some of you might have met us in 2014 when we first came here to CES. But the story of how we took this high-performance brain sensing technology out of the laboratory and brought it into an accessible consumer product that was useful to people kind of winds down a long road of discovery and epiphany for myself and for my team. So it was about 20 years ago, and it's long before the wearable computing revolution that's now here today. And I was building wearable computers with my friend Steve Mann, some of you may know, and we were actually wearing these devices in our everyday lives. And so this is 2001, and that's me. And believe it or not, I was looking for ways to become more human through technology. And so my cyborg friends and I, we would actually wear these augmented reality devices, and we'd walk around for months at a time wearing this on our faces. And to this day, I think we've done things that the industry is still catching up to. But things were a bit different then. We had to wear a backpack full of computers and batteries that you could barely lift. We didn't have these little chips that get crunch out slams for you. So what we were doing was that we were actually building the computer vision foundation for what's currently powering augmented reality. And yeah, people were making fun of me long before wearable computing was cool. So in 2002, we started working with brain sensing technology. And our interest here was how could brain sensors start to develop the brain-computer interface to a new level for wearable computers? And so we did crazy things by putting EEG into our computers and trying all different kinds of things with it, exploring and trying to discover, like, what was it that it held in store for this experience. And the thing we found to be the most intriguing was actually really surprising to us. And it was that when you put this on somebody new, now, I don't know how to be not too hippie about this, but people would put this on, and you'd put them in touch with their own brain signals. And they would enter into this deep self-experience, and they would start exploring and experimenting with their own consciousness. So we found this to happen on both the individual level and in groups as well. And so we would do fun things like get people to tune in with each other and then make music with their minds. And that's what's happening on the right here. We did a whole series of concerts like this in 2003. So I'm going to fast forward now to 2010. And this was a pivotal moment for us. We had this incredible experience we built for the Winter Olympics. And we had people control the lights on Niagara Falls, the CN Tower, and the Canadian Parliament buildings using their minds. And we did this from Vancouver, which is 3,000 miles away. So this is when it got really real for us. So you do a lot of cool things, but you know that, like, it could just be cool for just you and your friends. But we discovered that it was clear. People love this. So while doing this, I had an important realization. When you learn something new, like use a smartphone, for example, you have to punch in this little keyboard. You have to, like, go through this long process of learning. And this is neuroplasticity at work, and you have to do it for anything that we do. And the same thing is true for brain-computer interfaces. So what we found is that if you wanted to connect your brain and do things with your mind, you had to learn how to control your brain. And you had to learn to control your brain in a very specific way. So this way is I don't know how to describe this. Okay, so you have to take a step back from your thoughts. And you need to start adjusting how you're experiencing the present moment. And this was the critical shift you'd had to make in order to engage with brain-computer interfaces at that time. And it turned out what we'd done is we'd accidentally discovered mindfulness. And we discovered it through technology, which is pretty awesome. So this insight that you're more than your thoughts, and there's actually something deeper and more stable to identify with, is actually really powerful. And this is something that Buddhist monks have known for hundreds of years, and it's one of their secrets to their unshakable tranquility. So we realized that we could make brain-sensing technology to help people learn and practice meditation and derive the lifestyle and health benefits of mindfulness. So at this time, mindfulness was rapidly gaining in popularity and was moving into the scientific mainstream. And so yes, there were monks and brain scanners, which is super cool. So it was actually a perfect fit for us. And if you stretch way back to our beginnings, this aligned with the first things we discovered about brain sensing technology. So we created Muse. So Muse teaches basic mindfulness and focused attention using feedback in an auditory environment. It's a simple 4-channel EEG device, and it measures the electrical brain waves that your mind produces. And it connects to your smartphone. It could be Android, it could be an iOS device. And so you just put Muse on your head, and you launch the app, and then you learn and you practice mindfulness with feedback derived from your own brain signals. And this helps you dial in your practice and get it just right. So we brought our Muse to CES for the first time in 2014. And being Canadians, we brought an inflatable igloo to demonstrate our tech in. It was pretty chill in there. And fast forward to today, it's something I'm really excited to share with you is we've partnered with Smith Optics and brought our technology into the world of sports performance. So some of you may know Smith. I know them because I'm a snowboarder, and for years I wore Smith goggles. They make super amazing eyewear. And what we've done together is taken the Muse brain sensing technology and then put it inside the glasses. And so what we have here is actually a pair of iconic, fashionable sportswear. And what I love about these glasses is there's nothing weird about them. In fact, no one can even tell there's anything different about them. So with the Lowdown Focus, we've been able to take the benefits of technology-assisted mindfulness and bring it to athletes of all levels, which helps them improve their Wow. And so in sports, practicing mindfulness will do things like help you improve your rest and recovery. You know, it'll improve your focus when you're standing on the edge of a cliff and you're going, okay, if I think, I'm dead. So we're pretty excited about this. You can come to our booth and check it out. And we're showing some other things as well. With these glasses, you can actually combine the mental and the physical. So we have an example here with yoga. So basically, what we do is we measure the minute motions of the head. And from this, we can infer all kinds of things about the overall body dynamics. It turns out it's a very interesting perspective to have on the bodies from up here. So we measure posture, we measure balance, we measure focus. And we're actually doing the same thing with cycling as well. So come by our booth and check it out. It's really fun what you can do with a wearable like this that rides in the center of all our perception. So I think there are tremendous opportunities for Muse and technologies like Muse that can close the loop on brain performance. But it's going to be tough. You know, if we want to improve our lives, if we want to find better balance and well-being, we're going to have to work hard at this. And so I'm really, really excited and grateful about our research community because they've helped us so much on this path, and they continue to do amazing work. And with that, I'd like to introduce Professor Olav Kriegelsson from the University of Victoria, who will show some examples of his research of how he's using Muse to improve performance. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. So you might wonder, with all the technology that's here at CES, why I've given you a flashing green circle. It's not exactly the most high-tech thing that you'll see in the next day or two. Well, as a neuroscientist, I'm interested in this because your brain responds to this. You can't help that. There's a natural brain response to that circle that's flashing. And we know that to be true, all right? That's been known for quite a long time now. The history of EEG is quite long. It dates back to the 1920s. This is an MRI picture. It's a newer technology, but we've known that. What's fascinating about this is we can measure the brain response to this as a researcher or as a consumer just using an iPhone and a Muse headband. So those are brainwaves recorded from a Muse headband, and the brain's response to this event can be captured easily using a portable device, such as the one that most of you have in your
mic's not on. You're going to have to project more.
My mic is not on. I will have to go to my loud academic voice, and I'll pretend you're all first-year students in a very large room. Can you hear me at the back? Piece of cake. All right. You're going to bring your mic there? Go ahead. Is that on now? All right, there you go. I'll stop booming, otherwise it will be impossible to hear me. Anyway, if you missed the start of that, basically what I told you is quite simple. Your brain's responding to that event right now. Now, when we use this in my lab, we do it a little bit differently. What you're looking at is called an event-related brain potential. That is your brain's response to that event, and it's something that we can quantify easily on a mobile device. Now, why am I interested in looking at your brain's response to that flashing circle? Well, you can do a lot with that. As it turns out, when you're fatigued, your brain's response to that event will be reduced. When you're concussed, your brain's response to that event will be reduced. So what I've just basically told you is you can develop a portable fatigue assessment tool or a portable concussion assessment tool using a headband that you can buy at Best Buy and an iPhone or an Android phone. And that's what my lab's been doing for the last little while. So we've done this in a couple of different contexts. I'm also working with a company, Suva, that's developed an iPhone app that uses the Muse technology to do this fatigue and concussion assessment. And we've done it in hospitals. This is research from my lab where we were looking at medical doctors, pre-shift, mid-shift, post-shift, and sure enough, medical doctors get tired. The problem with the system right now is the only way to evaluate that is self-report. The doctors have to say, yeah, I'm too tired, I shouldn't be doing that. Well, you can actually do that assessment using a Muse headband and an iPhone and decide if someone's too tired. And you can extend this to aviation or the military or any number of venues. Like I said, we've done concussion assessment. If you can use this same technology, an iPhone and a Muse headband, and you can track or build up a baseline of brain performance on an athlete. And sure enough, when they're concussed, that brain response dies down. What's cool about that is currently return to play is based on an observation. Instead, you can make a return to play judgment using an iPhone and a Muse headband. Speaking of play, athletes have known about the zone for a long time now. Well, what is the zone? The zone is a mental state. And guess what? Your brain waves capture that mental state. Recent research from my lab, we found out by recording brain activity with a Muse headband, we could predict baseball batting performance before they went up to bat. We could literally tell whether someone was in the zone or not. And last but not least, with this technology, you can do what we call brain health assessments. We just can figure out whether your brain is healthy or not based on that brain response I showed you earlier. And I'm excited to say that my lab will be putting this technology into the Mars habitat in Hawaii in the new year. So when the astronauts are in there for 8 months, we can study whether or not their brain function changes over time. Anyway, that's quite a bit. I'll be down at the booth if anyone has any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Olav. So Olav's work is an example of some of the great stuff that a lot of scientists are doing when you can take EEG research out of the lab. We have collaborators really all over the world. Pretty much every major neuroscience institute in the world now uses this as a tool in their toolkit for brain research. When we look back on what the history of brain-computer interfaces look like, what EEG originally looked like, from the time it was invented in 1925, it's gotten progressively smaller and more portable to the point where now it fits into everyday items like sunglasses. And you can take Muses like Olav did up to Everest Base Camp and stop at monasteries on the way and measure the brain performance of monks while they're meditating and after they've meditated. Our previous speaker talked about closing the loop on brain performance. And one of the most powerful things you can do when you can directly measure brain activity via brainwaves is you can bring that insight on brain performance directly back to the user or to a gamer, for example, by measuring attention through evoked potentials through continuous brainwaves, and you can tie that to outcomes like stress, mental health, and brain health. And what some of our partners have shown is that, in fact, not only do you get improvements in attentional performance, some of them are even surprising, like reductions in reaction time on cognitively complex tasks, surprising to the extent that we didn't believe it until Adam Ghazali's lab showed us that they found the same thing in a different task that was related to the kinds of things that we were training. But you can also see improvements in perceived stress, increased resilience to stress, and a number of things that are very strongly predictive of mental health outcomes. So there's a story about pervasive neurotechnology that a few neuroscientists are going to go away into a secret building and they're going to invent a brain-computer interface. Elon Musk and Facebook are going to go and do this. And we're going to wake up someday and at CES in 2024, there's going to be a thing that you plug into your brain and you're going to be able to control your computer and drive your car and everything like that. Even the cover of The Economist this week talks about using thought to control machines. But as Luke Skywalker said, this is not going to go the way you think it is. This stuff is already available. This is incremental progress, and science is going to happen out in the open as far as brain-computer interfaces go, and interfacing the brain with technology. So virtual reality is a great opportunity for us to get more sensors onto the head. When people put on something like an HTC Vive or a PlayStation VR, you can put sensors into that and you can measure direct brain responses, not just to cognitive processes, but to visual stimuli, to auditory stimuli. And you can adapt the experience in a closed-loop fashion to both improve performance and to change outcomes for people who are in these kinds of virtual environments. And we're very pleased to launch Muse VR, which we call Neuroadaptive Virtual Reality, here at CES 2018. So this is a low-cost add-on that turns a headset into a brain-sensing wearable, whether the HTC Vive or the Samsung Gear VR. We'll be launching these in 2018. And these are easy-to-add-on interfaces that add to the sides and top of the head, right on top of virtual reality systems. Once you've incorporated brain sensing into technology in VR, you have a lot of cool applications. So you can measure what somebody's experiencing, whether they're paying attention, what they're seeing, whether they recognize what they're seeing or it's a novel stimulus. And this gives you tremendous opportunities to do really, really cool things. When you can get this on the heads of thousands of people, technology is going to accelerate in a way that we haven't seen before for brain-computer interfaces. So with that, we'd like to thank you and invite you to our booth to see some of these cool new technologies. We're at 44409 down in the Sands. We're at Choose Muse on Twitter. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you.